Bienvenidos a mi diario de Inglés Británico, un podcast para hispanohablantes que quieren entender inglés británico con confianza y progresar profesionalmente en el Reino Unido. Soy Shandon, coach nativo de inglés británico. Y sí, también hablo español. En cada episodio hablo en inglés británico real y conversacional, para que practiques tu comprensión auditiva y te acostumbres a cómo hablamos los nativos en la vida diaria. Hoy voy a hablarte de una de las comidas más conocidas de Inglaterra, una cena muy tradicional que comemos los domingos, el roast dinner. Te recomiendo que escuches este episodio más de una vez. No te preocupes si no entiendes todo. Cada vez que escuches vas a entender más. Vale, empecemos. Welcome to episode 17 of the podcast. Thanks for joining to improve your understanding of British English. Let's get started. Today, I want to speak about something very cultural and something that's very important for English people. Extremely important. I want to speak about one of the most traditional meals that we have in England. The meal that I want to talk about is called a Sunday roast or a roast dinner. I really recommend that you try one if you are in the UK. Many pubs around the country, most pubs sell and offer a Sunday roast every Sunday. In this episode, I'm going to speak about what it is. So what is a Sunday roast? The different variations that there are, and what I like most and least about a Sunday roast. So let's get into it. As the name suggests, a Sunday roast is the traditional dinner that we have on Sundays in England. But we don't have a Sunday roast at our normal dinner time. In England, most people usually have dinner at around 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. But our Sunday dinner, our Sunday roast, we have around 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So a bit earlier at 3 p.m. Many families will have a Sunday roast every single week. Not all families. Some people will never have it, but some families have this dinner every week. So what is a Sunday roast? Well, a Sunday roast is a combination of roasted and boiled foods. Roasted means the foods are cooked in the oven. Boiled means that they're cooked in boiling water. So it's a combination of foods cooked in these two ways. And in a Sunday roast, you have meat and you have vegetables. So let's start with the meat, because one thing that it's important to say is that there's not just one way to make a Sunday roast or a roast dinner. There are lots of different variations. Starting with the meat, there are usually 4 different types of meat you can have with a Sunday roast. Usually, you'll only have one of these each time, but sometimes people will have 2. But the types of meat you can have are chicken, beef, lamb, or pork. So we have one of these meats with our Sunday roast. And these meats are roasted in the oven, usually for between an hour and a half and 3 hours. Sometimes before cooking them, you add some herbs to the meat, but sometimes you'll just cook the meat in the oven with some oil as well. So those are the 4 types of meat. How about vegetables? It really depends on the person and on the family you talk to, because there's a large variety of different vegetables that you can have with a roast dinner. The most common vegetables are carrots, broccoli, and cauliflower. Some people also have Brussels sprouts. I hate Brussels sprouts. They're one of my least favorite things in the world. But my mum loves Brussels sprouts. So when I was younger, I always used to have to eat Brussels sprouts. All of these vegetables are usually boiled. So they're cooked in boiling water. And that's how they're prepared. But sometimes the carrots are roasted in the oven as well. As well as those vegetables that I just mentioned, there are also some vegetables that are always roasted as part of a roast dinner. First of all, potatoes. Roast potatoes are one of the most important parts of a roast dinner, and in my opinion, they're by far one of the best parts. How do you prepare them? First of all, the potatoes are peeled and then boiled in water, and then they're roasted in the oven in oil. When you roast the potatoes, they go very crispy and delicious, and I absolutely love them. Another common roasted vegetable that's part of a Sunday roast are parsnips. Parsnips are much less common to have than potatoes, but most families will have parsnips with their roast dinner. Again, to prepare these, the parsnips are boiled and then roasted. And often they're glazed with honey as well. If you don't know what a parsnip is, it looks quite similar to a carrot, but instead of being orange, it's white inside and the skin is yellow. A very light yellow, almost like a beige colour. So a traditional Sunday roast, one that I might have, might consist of roast chicken, carrots, broccoli, roast potatoes, and roast parsnips. But there are a couple of other very important things as part of a Sunday roast. First of all, you need a sauce. If not, the Sunday roast would be very dry. The traditional sauce we have in England is called gravy. This is a brown coloured sauce that's a mix of onion, garlic, and juices from the meat as well. Sometimes people will prepare their own gravy fresh. Often they won't. And you can buy the granules from the supermarket, mix those with boiling water and make your gravy in that way. That's how me and my family have always done it. Another extremely important part of a roast dinner are Yorkshire puddings. These are called puddings, but don't be confused. They are not a dessert. They are part of the main course and the dinner. So you eat these with the meat and the vegetables on the same plate. Yorkshire puddings are my favourite part of a roast dinner. They're so simple, but they're so delicious. They're made with flour, egg, and milk. You mix these ingredients and you prepare them in the oven as well. Once cooked, they're nice and crunchy and delicious. And you pour gravy, the sauce that I mentioned, into the Yorkshire puddings. Definitely look online if you don't know what Yorkshire puddings are, so that you can see a picture of them. So those are the main parts of a roast dinner or a Sunday roast. But there are some other things we often have too. One of these things are specific sauces that we have with the different meats. As I mentioned before, there are 4 main meats that we have as part of a roast dinner: chicken, beef, lamb, and pork. And each of these meats has their own sauce that goes well with that meat. For lamb, you have mint sauce. Pork, you have apple sauce. Chicken, you have cranberry sauce. And beef, you have either mustard or horseradish. I don't like mustard or horseradish, but the other sauces I really like. So what is my favorite combination? What is my favorite version of a roast dinner? My favorite is lamb with nice crispy roast potatoes, carrots, broccoli, Yorkshire puddings, as I mentioned, my favorite thing, and mint sauce, the sauce that goes well with lamb. So when was the last time I had a roast dinner? It was last weekend, actually. Last weekend, I went to visit my grandparents and I had a roast dinner with chicken. My nan also made some incredible roast potatoes with the dinner. My grandparents are very traditional. They have a roast dinner almost every week. It's very rare for them to not have a roast dinner on a Sunday. Okay, so that's the end of this cultural episode, speaking about one of the most famous meals in the UK, the Sunday roast or the roast dinner. I hope this episode has made you feel hungry, and if you've not tried a Sunday roast, make sure to try one soon, especially if you live in London or in the UK. Most pubs sell a Sunday roast on Sundays, as I mentioned at the start. So if you go to any pub on a Sunday, you can probably get a Sunday roast there. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Gracias por escuchar este episodio de mi diario de Inglés Británico. Ya has dedicado tiempo a tu aprendizaje hoy, y eso suma más de lo que crees. Poco a poco, tu inglés va a mejorar. Si vives en el Reino Unido y sientes que tu inglés te está frenando profesionalmente, te invito a hacer una evaluación de fluidez profesional gratuita conmigo. En esta sesión, analizo cómo hablas inglés hoy, identifico exactamente qué te está bloqueando y te explico qué necesitas trabajar para hablar con más claridad y confianza. No es una clase, es un diagnóstico claro y honesto de tu inglés hablado. Escríbeme por mensaje en Instagram para reservar tu evaluación. Dejo el enlace a mi cuenta en la descripción del episodio. Gracias y nos vemos pronto. Bye.